Okay.
Hello and welcome back to the Live Reality Game Podcast. My name is Steve and I'm here with more Surviving Reelfoot, the Decennium deep dive content. And joining me today is Parker's favorite player. We have Sandra. Sandra, how are you doing?
Hi. Thank you, Parker. I really appreciate that. I'm doing really good. Good. It's good to be here finally. Hopefully I remember everything.
You know, I have high faith you do. You mentioned, do you want to just bring up the pieces of paper you have with all the notes?
Oh, I got pages
Yeah, it's
and
like
pages and pages.
you are prepared. So
Notebooks.
this will go well. I am sure. So Sandra, going back, so you played Outlast in their season 1, 2022. You played Angelica, there's season something, A Blessing and Curses, 2023. How
Yep.
did you discover Real Foot and what led you to the decision to apply for Real Foot?
Well, after I played Outlast, that was my first one. I didn't even know about live reality games at that point. Didn't know they existed. And when I played, I had so much fun, and it was so addicting, and I couldn't wait to go back because, of course, like your first game, you never know the ins and outs, and you don't know how people play and how ruthless you can be. So I was kind of quiet. Well, no, I'm never quiet, but I kind of
Because was it like the Earn the Merge that did you in that season? Kind of like that final joint tribal council before Merge?
yeah, I was swap screwed.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I was right before the merge. And so like you just months later, you're just like, oh, fine, only I did this, only I did that. And I couldn't wait to get back to play another game. So I went online and I just like searched on Facebook all these live reality games, not even realizing that there are hundreds of live reality games. And I didn't realize at that point in time how much they want women to apply, and older women at that, because every game's always looking for women, it seems. But I didn't know that, so I applied to like every game. And I got accepted to every game that I applied to. So that's why like all of a sudden I like appeared on every game this year or last year on the episodes, because I was like always, I'm like, oh wow, another one. But I didn't apply for Reelfoot because it scared me, because it was 8 days. And I said, I want to get some experience under my belt and see how I do, and I just, yeah. And I was like, all right, this is the year I'm going to try the 8-day one. And I didn't do any other ones. I only applied for Reelfoot this year because I was like, I don't want to do any others.
So what other games did you play in 2023?
I played Surviving Maine, which is on right now. That was Memorial Day. So it was Memorial Day last year. So it was my second game after Outlast. So I played it completely different. And I don't want to give anything away because it is running right now on YouTube. So I don't want to give any spoilers. And then I played Angelica last year. And then right after Angelica, like 3 weeks later, I played Can You Survive?
Gotcha.
So that's right. And then I feel like there was another one, and I'm sorry if I forgot something. Yeah. This was my fifth. Yeah. So Reelfoot was my fifth. Yeah.
So you apply to Reelfoot, you get accepted. You talked about, like you're trying to figure out what's your play style, how do you want to play. Coming into Reelfoot, what were you looking to do or maybe change?
Well, spoiler alert, I want Angelica, which I think everyone knows anyways.
Yes, it's a topic in your season.
Yes, it's a topic, so no spoilers there. And I figured if it isn't broke, don't fix, I got to the end with a ride or die, and I stayed loyal. So, Maine, I kind of played the villain, believe it or not. It was like Maine, I played a villain, and I did better in Angelica as a hero, so to speak, for lack of a better term. So I find I get further with being a hero, and I do better playing a hero. So I didn't want to change up my gameplay at all from how I played Angelica, and I just figured I would play the loyalty card and stay loyal. I always I always play there's two parts to the game. You need to get to merge. If you don't get to merge, you're
Yeah.
out. So at least if you make it to merge, you're on the jury and you get voted out. So it's 2 parts as far as I'm concerned. So I try and, when I first play, I focus on who's a strong player, whether it be male or female, it doesn't matter. Just who is, pretty much indispensable to the tribe, whether they, who's the challenge beast that's going to help us win challenges, and that the tribe's not going to want to vote out. And that's who I tend to draw to, and that's who I go to try and align with, because I can't win. I'm not a challenge beast. So I figured if they can keep me safe, that's great. So I always try to align with someone like that in the beginning.
I'm curious because my recollection of your Angelica game, it's a splashy game. You have idols and advantages, and you're a target, and you're able to get to the end. That feels maybe hard to replicate because it's just in every season. Because the question is, do you get the advantages?
Right. Right. I mean, I'm always looking for advantages. Like I am, as soon as I get to a game, I'm looking for an advantage or an idol. Because you can't depend on, you don't know who you're playing with. You don't know how they play the game. You don't know if you're truly going to have a ride or die, how loyal is the next guy. You don't know. So yeah, you can't replicate your gameplay. It always depends on who you're playing with, but I always try and play the loyal card.
So in Reelfoot, were you idol hunting minute 1 of the game?
Constantly. Yes.
So it must have just kind of torn your heart in half when the clue points directly to where the idol is and Carl grabs it.
I did not want to share that. I know I don't want to jump because I know we go, piece by piece, but yeah, I did not want to share that clue. But it killed me because I was digging right maybe an inch from where Kyle just went, it came out of nowhere. He was like the claw, just like, whoop, and he grabbed it. And I'm like, what the hell? It was like right next to me. Yeah, I wasn't happy.
Given you talked about being a little trepidatious about an 8-day game, was there anything else you did to prepare for it?
I in a month preceding the game, I pretty much made sure I only ate once a day. Stuff like that.
Wow.
Like I made sure I didn't depend on food, so I didn't starve so much. A lot of people think they should eat a lot, get all the food you can, but then you're training your body to always need food. So I did the opposite and just tried not to rely on food so much. I mean, and other than that, I practiced the beanbag tosses and puzzles online and stuff like that. Other than that, I mean, just the typical, and walking and running, because Pete made sure to always, he would always send us little chats and be like, make sure you're running, make sure you're walking. So,
given your season Angelica had aired at this point, and you were likely, people are going to recognize you as a winner, how was that factoring into? Were you going to be open with disclosing that, or were you going to kind of try to keep on the down low?
I wasn't going to lie about it, but I wasn't going to just throw it out there. I did, everybody asks, has anybody played any games? Like that question always comes up. And I never lie about it. I'm like, yeah, I played Angelica. And I didn't mention Maine because that hadn't aired yet. And obviously Outlast, everyone knew, but I didn't mention that I won Angelica. I was like, if it comes out, it comes out. I won't deny it, but nobody asked how I did, so I didn't bother to volunteer the information.
So you arrive at Reelfoot, and there's kind of this pre-period before the game begins where you kind of see the other competitors. Did you see anyone you knew, or did anyone stand out to you in any way?
Oh, yes, as a matter of fact. So what's funny is the airport, we picked up Jeff. He was in my car, and I was like, oh, cool, right? So, because I knew who Jeff was. And then at the hotel, what's really funny is I was checking out, and did Pete pick me up? No, I'm sorry, Parker picked me up. I don't know how I forgot that. So I was waiting for Parker, and I was checking out, and I just happened to turn to my left, and down walks German, with his strut. And I'm like, oh my God, that's thinking to myself, I'm like, oh my God, German, right? So I knew he was playing because Pete was picking him up. And we didn't say anything. We just kind of like made eye contact, and that was that. I have a story with the German and last thing, but we'll get into that later. So yeah, it was great to see people that I knew. And then when we got to the cabin, I knew Melanie from Angelica. I've yet to actually play with Melanie. Like, we're always on opposing tribes.
Over 2.
Yes. So she was a familiar face. Hannah, obviously. Yeah, so I did see quite a few familiar faces.
Did anyone else stand out to you in that crew period?
Kyle, because he talked a lot. He was, loud and funny. And who else? I'm trying to remember. Yeah, just like, I don't know. That was just everybody just kind of, Debbie was really friendly and talkative. So just the real friendly people really stuck out to me.
So when the game gets underway, you're put on the pink tribe, the Nankana tribe. And so you find yourself with Blake, Carl, Jeff, Jordan, Kiri, Maddie, Shauna, James, and Debbie. A couple of people who you've mentioned already.
Yes, and Jordan, I can't believe I forgot Jordan. I'm sorry. So Jordan and I actually played an online game together, and I actually voted for her to win. So I was really happy to be on Jordan's tribe. Like, I love her. So yeah, I was put on that tribe, and we were all upstairs in the loft and just kind of sitting there, and we couldn't speak, but we're all kind of looking down. And I was trying to figure out who was going to be on my tribe. I figured we had 4 people in our car from the airport. It was me, Jeff, Ethan, and Trinica. So I had a feeling they would split up us 4 up, 2 and 2, which they did. It was me and Jeff on one tribe and Ethan and Trinica on the other. So yeah, I was happy that Jeff was on my tribe. James really stood out to me. We kind of, we sat across from each other upstairs when we were waiting for all the people to get their buffs, and we really kind of connected eye to eye, so he really stood out. And then obviously Jordan and I just connected.
So looking at this group of people, we were just like, yeah, I feel really good about this tribe, or you're just
I did. Oh yeah, I felt really good. Yep.
So how are the opening hours of the game?
Fun. I mean, you mean at camp, like once we all
camp
and stuff? Yeah, I mean, that was fun. Everybody, Kyle is a workhorse. Like, he immediately is like taking the machete and chopping down trees, and he's working his ass off. Shauna, obviously, she's a workhorse and she's helping. Everyone's pretty much helping, getting wood. And it was in the beginning, it was really kumbaya, right? In the beginning, I know, like, we kind of
at what point
from that, and we're all like, we suck, we hate our tribe. But in the beginning, in the first few hours, it was really good.
We kind of talked about your perspective on idols and advantages, but there's a couple other twists to this season, right? You have Shot in the Dark. Have you played with that before?
I have. Actually, in Maine,
Okay.
they had shots in the dark, and I'm trying to think.
What's your view on that as a twist?
Hey, it works for me. So
yeah, I mean, of all the people, you're probably like, yes, love it. You need to hear this day. You also learned that redemption's in play.
That I'm excited about. Yeah, I always like redemption because Maine. Oh, I don't know if I'm supposed to say that. Never mind. Nope, zip that out.
Forget anything just happened.
Yeah, I don't know if Maine had it or maybe they didn't. But I like redemption because it gives people a second shot. You're there, you spend money to get there, and you get voted out, even if it's first or whatever. Sorry, my dog is playing with that squeaky toy. So yeah, I definitely like redemption.
And finally, you have fire tokens, and those are going to kind of factor into an outpost. What was your initial thought about those?
I really screwed up the fire token thing.
Really?
Again, I feel like the loyalty thing and everything from my, family or whatever. But I didn't even think about the fire tokens. Like someone had mentioned, oh, these might, come in handy. There might be an auction at some point in the game. And someone did mention that.
Mm-hmm.
But every time we went to the outpost, I was just thinking, we need to get something worthwhile. So I was all like, oh yeah, let's, I was one of them. Here's my tokens. Here's the tokens. Every time I found one during a challenge, I would just be like, yep, found a token. I didn't even think about, hoarding them, which was really stupid. But yeah, I mean, I was just thinking about at that point in time what we needed for fire tokens.
In that opening day, were there any important connections you made, or were you already forming alliances with players at that point?
Yeah, so on the walk to camp, I was walking with James, and he immediately came to me. I think he actually even came to me before he went to Blake. And he's like, I have a really good, I have a good feeling about you. I really want to work with you. And I told him the same thing. I'm like, oh, absolutely. Like, I feel good about you as well. I can just tell just by your demeanor or whatever, first impressions. So we immediately were aligned. And then he, was aligned with Blake as well. So we had a 3. But me and Jordan and I aligned right away as well. And she immediately came up to me and was like, I remember you, because like we only see each other on an online game. We don't really know each other. And so, yeah, I mean, her and Jeff as well. So that was immediate. So it was like me, Blake, and James, and then me, Jordan, and Jeff. So I already had like 3 and 3. And then just talking, then because I was so close with James, I was like, oh, what about Jordan and Jeff? And he was like, oh yeah, he loved Jordan. And so we kind of just made a 5 right there. But what was also good was bonding with Shauna, and she was tight with Maddie. So those 3. So it was kind of like a lot of 3s. And I was like kind of in a good spot with all of them. I didn't really talk game in the beginning, well, really at all with Carl. Like we were friendly, but we never talked strategy. We just kind of talked about, general stuff. And Carrie, I loved Carrie from the beginning. But in the beginning, we didn't talk strategy either because she was so tight with Carl. Like it was like you knew them two were a pair. And so because I didn't talk strategy with Carl, it was just kind of automatic that I wasn't talking strategy at that point with Carrie.
And then what about Debbie?
Debbie. Debbie was talking to everybody. She's like a social butterfly. So we were talking when it came to vote someone out. It's hard because like you're not voting anybody out in the first 2 days. So we really weren't strategizing at that point. So everybody was kind of, being social and talking whatever and getting the camps ready. And then when it was time to vote, I feel like Debbie was talking to everybody. I didn't really talk a lot of game with Debbie. Just kind of like where the vote's going to go. Other than that, I don't think we talked much strategy.
By the end of day 1, was there anyone you're eyeing as, I can see this person being a potential first boot, or I want this person to be my first boot? Was that something you had in mind by the end of day 1 at all?
Not by the end of day, no. Because things change. And that's the thing that I like about Reelfoot is it gave us a couple days kind of to bond, because when you're playing, say, a 3-day game, you just, a lot of times the first boot is just based on first impressions and you got to make a decision and you really have nothing to go on. And I think a lot of, in Reelfoot, it was more about who have you bonded with socially, and who are you most, who's going to get you to the end. And unfortunately, I didn't see Debbie as that person that was going to get me to the end. So that's pretty much, I feel like, how she came up for me anyways.
So talking about outpost visits, that first day, Blake and Carl go to the outpost and come back. Did anything really mount from that from you when they come back with the rice?
I don't trust anybody when they went to the outpost because well, they went first. So at that point I hadn't gone to the outpost. There were, and I wish I could remember who, but someone had said they didn't buy what they were saying. Something to do with like when they saw the table at the challenge, it had more items than what they were claiming or something like that. So they thought that they had an advantage and they were hiding something. I don't remember. I'm looking at your notes if they actually did come back with something.
No, so I mean, Melissa and Trinica buy a tarp, and they buy the bag of rice, and that's kind of it.
And so they were telling the truth. Yeah.
I mean, I think there's a little fibbing of like they got an extra token from Melissa and Trinica, but beyond that.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I feel like we were always shady of whoever came back.
So how was your night in the lightning storm?
Oh my gosh.
Because you've had some pretty rough sleeping conditions before. I think your Outlast season looked hard.
No, actually the Outlast season, well, it was hard. Like did we have a top over us? Yeah, we did, but it didn't rain or anything. This was actually the first time I've had to sleep out in the rain like that. And I say sleep, sorry.
Sleep with quotes.
Yeah, I say, right, there was no sleep going on, especially with the torrential rain. But I did not want to leave. I think Shauna had said that, I did not want to leave when the lightning struck. We were all kind of sitting up, just kind of crunched over because we're all trying to fit under the tap. And we're just all looking out. And then all of a sudden, like this huge explosion. And everybody panicked, but I literally, like in my head, I'm thinking the saying is lightning never strikes twice, right? So I'm thinking, all right, it struck a tree, like it's not going to strike us. It just struck a tree like 10 feet from us. Like it's not going to strike in the same spot. And I honestly didn't want to walk all the way back in the rain and the mud in the dark. Like that did not seem fun to me. We're not going to sleep. I'd rather just stay huddled under the top. And Carl didn't want to leave either. It was just Carl and I that did not want to leave. Everybody else was like on the radio.
Get us out of there.
Oh my God, get us the F out of here. Like they did not want to stay. So, and they wouldn't leave us so Carl and I had to go. Yeah, so that was interesting, but it was kind of interesting when we went back the next day and saw what the lightning did to the tree. That was kind of cool.
So that second day, I feel an important part is the shift in your alliance with James, right? Because you went from saying like, day one, like I feel good, we have a 5. What changes the second day?
Well, you mean the second vote out or
second day?
The second day, I'm still good with James. Yeah, no, I was still good with James. Like I was still aligned with James and Blake. I just had two 3-person alliances. I had James and Blake, and I had Jordan and Jeff. And we were also a 5. So like at that point, we were still tight. Yeah, so I mean, nothing really in the second day, nothing had really changed with James.
Then we'll pick up
other than the fact that he was really close with Blake. And at that point, I knew that like, okay, I'm not his number 1 anymore. Like that did change. Because I was just thinking, okay, well, I've been replaced. Because everyone knew that he was tight with Blake. So I'm like, yeah, I would be 3rd in that.
Well, you and James get selected to go to the outpost with Charlie and Tony from the Okina tribe. Talk about this experience and the decisions that happened afterwards.
Okay. So, and I don't know who's watching. I don't know if James is watching, and I say this to the tribe at one point. On the way to the outpost, James is telling me, and I think he told the rest of the tribe at one point as well. He's like, oh, me and Charlie are really good friends. Like, we don't worry about it. He's got our back. He's got my back. I'm really close. I'm close with Charlie. We're good friends. So I'm thinking like good friends, like they knew each other out of the game. Like I thought they were friendly outside the game. I didn't realize he meant good friends as in he just met him last night. And like, I thought he was tight with Charlie. So he's like, yeah, don't worry. Like, I'm tight with Charlie. Like, we're good. We're good. So we go to the outpost and he tries to talk them into giving us like tokens or whatever out of good faith or something like that. And they wouldn't do it. And I'm like, well, it can't be that tight. Like, they were like, Charlie and Tony were looking at us like, yeah, no, dude, we're not helping you at all. So I was glad I went with James. And then we got the scroll and we had the choice to look at it first or go take it back and open it as a tribe. James wanted to go back and open it in front of the tribe. And I was like, I don't know. I kind of think we should open it. I want to know. I can we can tie it back up or whatever, like I want to know what it says. But then in the same breath, I was like, but what will we say?
Yeah.
Like, if we say we didn't get anything, okay, what are we going to tell the tribe why we came back with no tokens? And at that point, like, I don't know, I couldn't think of anything. I'm like, what are we going to say? Like, oh, sorry, they stole all our tokens. Like, I don't know. Because I was already like, I thought Blake and Kyle was shady. So I felt like if we come back with no tokens and nothing, like that, that's going to put a target on our back. So that's when I was like, all right, we'll just show. It's probably a clue. I didn't think it was going to be that
specific,
that clear of a clue. So yeah, that was.
Let's do what if. Let's say you persuade James. Let's open it up, read it ahead of time. You know what the clue says. What do you do differently when you get back to camp?
I would have come up with a story and just be like, we didn't get anything.
We are lying, no matter how bad the lie is.
What's that?
You were just like, we're gonna figure out a lie. It's gonna be a bad lie, but we're gonna lie because it's
because you don't want people to know you have an idol like that. You want to keep it a secret. So, yeah, I definitely would not have told anybody, and we would have known where it was because it was clear it was under the flag. So, yeah, that's what I would have done. And I'm over now, so I made it to the final. So it is what it is. Like,
well. James reads the clue and there's a mad dash. Are you part of that mad dash?
Oh yeah, mad dash. Blake was to the left. I was in the middle. Yeah, I think I was right next to Blake under the flag. And there was a lot of people around us, but I just remember me and Blake being next to each other. And we're digging. And I'm like on the right side. I don't know why I didn't just like dig in the center. Shh. I don't know why I didn't dig in the center. Because then just Kyle came out of nowhere and just like, he didn't even dig. Like, I have dirt under my fingernails for weeks. Like, we were digging and he with his big hand just comes over and just reaches down and grabs it like it was sitting on top. And I'm like, how did we miss this? But in the end, it's like, now everyone knows you have an idol. So that's also not good. So, yeah.
Did Carl have an idol change anything for you?
No, not in the beginning. No. I don't think Carl would have had a target on his back with or without an idol. Because, he was such a workhorse. And he really helped out at camp. So I think in the beginning it wouldn't have mattered anyways.
Well, you ultimately have a very long and very bad day, right? Your tribe loses all 3 reward challenges, 1 on day 1, 2 on day 2. What's the tribe morale going into that first immunity challenge?
Oh my gosh, the morale was so low. It was, I mean, you probably saw our commercial as opposed to the other commercial. Yeah, I mean, our tribe, oh no, the commercial was fun. It was the the other one.
It's someone where everyone says, "We hate our tribe. Get us off
Yes.
of here."
Yes, that one. Yeah, it was pretty bad. We didn't think we could win. We were losing everything, but we didn't give up, but we knew we would beat them eventually.
Which you do. It's just this first challenge also doesn't go well. The kayak is flipped, and that kind of cements Okina's lead to victory.
Yes. What one was it?
This is the kayaking challenge. The kayak out, retrieve the puzzle pieces, and go back and solve a puzzle.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. Oh my God, I have like such, even with your little chart, I can't even follow. Yeah. Was that for reward or was that for?
That's immunity.
That was for immunity.
You lose that first immunity challenge, and you're not going to have tribal council till the next morning. So
right.
what is the scramble like for you at this point?
Well, at that point, James is really like controlling the tribe. And at that point, I'm glad I'm aligned with him because he seems to, he had a lot to say. He was very vocal on who he wanted, and everybody was pretty much in agreement that the vote was going to be Debbie, except for Maddie. Maddie really wanted James. But at that point, because majority was on Debbie, Maddie, did Maddie vote?
So Maddie and Shauna both vote for James.
Oh, that's right. So Maddie that's right. Now it's all coming back to me. Yes. So Shauna said she was going to vote James in case Debbie had an advantage or played a shot in the dark and hit. I honestly didn't expect Debbie to be so blindsided, which was really heartbreaking. So yeah, that made me feel bad that she was so like blindsided by the vote, and she didn't play a shot in the dark, which that was very surprising. So, but that's why they voted for James, because that's who Maddie wanted out. So.
And so you knew they were voting for James, and you're just like, "That's not me. It's probably okay."
Yes. Oh yeah. Yep. I knew they were voting for James. James was on when he saw his name, he was like, "Who voted for?" And I played stupid. I was not going to rat on anybody, and I was like, "I don't know who it was." And he's like, "I know." He knew it was Maddie at that point. He's like, "I know it was Maddie," and I think he thought, I think he thought maybe Maddie and Carrie, I think. I could be wrong on that one, but he's like, "I know it was Maddie," and he has a feeling it was Carrie or whatever. And I'm like, "Well, what makes you think it's Maddie?" Like, I was just like trying to like find out why he thought Maddie. I mean, he was right, but I just never confirmed it. I was just, but I think Maddie and Shauna may have admitted to it eventually, but.
So Debbie goes out morning day 3, and you go kind of on an immunity tear. You win the next 2 challenges, which had to feel pretty amazing at that point.
Yes, the silent relay. I think I sat out of that one, so I was getting to like cheer them on that one, but that was fun to watch because we were so far ahead. Is that the one that
you had to play charades in the middle of it?
Yes. I mean, that was when we finally like our morale was getting boosted because we kicked their ass. They were so far behind us, and it was so, those, I don't know if that's the one they claim we cheated. I can't even keep track of that, but whatever. That one really made us feel good because we really won big on that one.
And then in the Steal the Bacon, who'd you go up against?
Oh God, I hated that one. I'm too old to play Steal the Bacon. So thank God I went before Trinica and Jordan, because before they went, it was just who gets to it first and who outruns the other one. Like, there was no wrestling and tackling going on, right? So I went up against Melanie. And I lost, which no surprise. And then And then when Jordan and Trinica, and even the men, like, you know, they were going up, they were just kind of like who got to it first, who beat whoever back. Then Jordan and Trinica got up and they got like, they stole the show and they just changed the whole aspect of that challenge. Because from there on in, it was a very physical challenge. And as soon as I saw that, I was looking for Shauna because I just kept looking at him like, I can't go again. Because you had to go at least once. And I was looking at Shauna, who, I don't know, she went a ton of times. And I was like, I can't go again. I'm like, I can't do that. I'm like, I will break a hip. I'm like,
do not medevac me from this game.
Yes. I'm like, I was so afraid to go because I'm like, I don't want to be tackled and fall down. Like, you know, I'm like, so yeah, Shauna saved the day on that one because she just kept agreeing to go back.
So we're in day 3. You mentioned before, like the relationship with James is going to, your lives with James is going to change in this day. Talk to me about how things evolve as you have all this downtime for winning challenges.
Okay. So, James, people were turning on James because he was definitely very vocal on how he felt about certain things. You know, he was always saying like, you know, who should go, like with the steal the bacon, who goes against who should go twice. And that was rubbing people the wrong way. That he was trying to control like how people voted, how people played the challenges, like who does what, like even on the silent relay, like, you know, he was like, Jeff, you're going to do this part. And you're going to, you know, instead of talking as a group. And that started to turn everyone against him, even though, you know, I think people were surprised because of his strength that we would vote him out so early. But I think that was, and so he's had that against him and how close he was with Blake. You know, you never want to have like a duo that close that early because people are always going to want to split you up. So between that and him wanting to control the tribe, and and Shauna's coat, you know, I think he was rubbing people the wrong way. And I knew that that's when I knew I couldn't stay loyal to Blake and James. Because if I had, that would ruin my game. So it was either kind of turn on that alliance and stick with, you know, Jordan and Jeff. And then at that point is, you know, over that period of time, Shauna and Maddie, like the 5 of us were getting really tight. And that's when I was just like, yeah. And even Jordan knew too, because Jordan was also aligned with James and Blake and I. And we knew that if the majority wants James out, like we have to vote with majority at that point.
Well, you have the gross food challenge. Carl wins immunity. How do you like your baby food?
It was so nasty. And I think the very first day of the game, I told everyone, if there's a gross food challenge, I'm out. Like, I am out. I can't eat gross food. Like, they had that in Angelica, and thank God for Pat, because he saved me in that one. Because, like, if we hadn't won his round, I would have had to go. So I can't eat gross food. And when I first saw the baby food, well, it wasn't baby food. It was rice, by the way, baby rice or whatever that is.
Something I'll never eat.
Oh my God. And it was definitely more than just, I've tasted it. I know what it tastes like because when you have a baby, you always have to test it to see if it's too hot. You know what I mean? You have to like, all right, make sure it's room temperature. Yeah, no, this was nasty. And I was like, oh, it doesn't, yeah, I can eat this. A baby eats it. Like, how bad can it be? You know? It was so gross. Yeah. No, someone, I think it was Carrie, was like pretending it's mashed potatoes, and I was trying, and there was no way, which was just as well because I wouldn't have made it. I wasn't going to eat live worms, and I definitely wasn't going to eat a century egg. especially up against that. So it's just as well.
So this is going to be another tribal council where you have all night and the next morning to figure out the votes. What is the scrambling like? Are you immediately saying James is done for, or you're just like, well, maybe something else will happen?
At that point, we knew it was James. I don't even know if there was a lot of scrambling. I don't think. I also think with the Debbie vote, Maddie was so adamant on James. So at some point we were like, we can get James next time, like don't even worry about it. So we all kind of knew it was going to be James at that point. So I know, and we didn't really want to talk too much about it because we didn't want to lead James and Blake. We didn't want them to hear us talking or whatever. So, and I know James wanted Shauna because he was open with me about that. And Jeff was actually kept coming to me and Jordan, and he was like, I think we should tell Blake, I think we should bring him in on the vote and let him know that we're voting James because he's going to think we betrayed him. And I was like, I don't think we should tell Blake. I'm like, there's no way, because Blake will tell James. I truly believe, I don't remember if Blake mentioned if he would have told James or not, but I truly 100% believe Blake would have told James.
I would have been surprised if he didn't.
Yeah, definitely. And even on the way to tribal, Jeff was like, maybe we should tell him like on the way to tribal, like right now, or when we're sitting, or I'm like, no. I'm like, just leave it. Like, we'll explain afterwards, It's better to ask for forgiveness than ask for permission. So yeah, Jeff really wanted to tell Blake, but we didn't end up telling Blake.
In retrospect, should you have told Blake?
No, definitely
not. So James is blindsided. It's a 7-2 vote. You're going to swap soon after, but I have a couple questions. Had this tribe gone back to tribal council, who do you think would have gone home?
Probably Blake, and only because only because he was so tight with James that we would have thought he would have, like, he would want revenge at some point, so if we kept him, which ultimately is why he gets voted out after. We'll get there. I don't want to jump to that yet because I have something to say about that. But yeah, I mean, my guess is Blake, but only because at that point I'm tight with the 5, and then there's Carrie and Kyle has the idol. So
of the players on this tribe, can you rank them from most to least important to your game right before the swap?
Okay. Jordan is up there. She's number 1. Jeff, Jordan and Jeff, because I have a tight 3 with them. Shauna, and then Maddie. Are we talking after James? Wait, are we talking?
James is gone.
Okay, all right. Yeah. And then Blake, Carrie, Carl.
Wow, so Blake is still above Carrie and Carl.
Yeah, because I really wasn't talking game with them at that point.
I mean, and so would you have wanted to maybe target Carrie and Carl instead of Blake if you went to tribal again?
Possibly, yeah. Okay. If we could have done it secretly.
Okay. But we'll never know because you've reached a swap at 15, the number everyone loves to swap at. And so you stay on the non-Kana tribe, and you're with Sandra, Kiri, and Blake. Is this your ideal 4 you'd want to be with, or has there been someone else you'd like to have from your original tribe with you?
Jordan and Jeff I would have loved to have had because those are the 2 that I was most.
So would you rather like been on Okina with Jordan, Maddie, and Jeff instead?
Depends on who else was there from Okina.
Yeah, let's say it's going to eat the Melissa Turnica. Let's say you and Carl swap. Would you want to have been on that tribe?
Yeah, probably.
Okay. And then you get Charlie, Hannah, German, and Tony, who you're meeting most of them for the first time. What were your thoughts on them?
Well, I love Hannah. Like, you can't not love Hannah. And German, I'm always nervous about. Oh, yeah, it is out of focus, huh? That's weird.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened there.
Because I'm using this thing that is weird. I wonder if I switch. Can I switch to a different camera?
Yeah, go for it.
I don't know if this is going to work, but hopefully I don't lose you.
If not, you can jump back in and we'll figure things out. All right. Give us a second as we figure out camera issues. All right. And she's back, and you're in focus.
It's a little darker, but
yeah. And Charlie says hi.
All right. What was the question?
You are meeting Charlie, Hannah, German, and Tony for the first time.
Oh, that's right. So, German, I always get nervous about because I know how he plays. And he makes me very nervous. So I'm nervous to play with German. Contrary to what everybody says that we had, Outlast Alliance, that was not true. And Charlie, well, he's just a sweetheart. He's, 18 years old. He made me nervous because you never kind of knew like how he was going to play. He was kind of wishy-washy. Mm-hmm. And Tony, I actually liked at that. I shouldn't say at that point, but like mm-hmm. Tony was a badass at challenges. Mm-hmm. So I was happy he was on our tribe because I felt like he was a strong player and he would help us in challenges. Mm-hmm. And we actually, contrary to what others remember, Tony and I actually had a long discussion about how, he likes to work with older players, specifically older women. I don't know if he was full shit, but so I mean, I did feel good about the tribe. I felt like we had strength and strategic players. Mm-hmm.
I mean, so looking at this tribe, you have 4 original Nankana, 4 original Akina. Oh, yeah. You win a challenge. We'll never know what's going to happen in this group, but what do you think would have happened had this tribe gone to tribal council with each other?
Well, definitely someone from Okina would have went. Well, I don't know. I shouldn't say that because Kiri ends up flipping. So, oh no, she didn't flip at that point.
Well, I mean, she has an opportunity. So maybe Kiri could have flipped. Blake is a big target on your side as well.
Yeah, because Blake's on our tribe too, right? Mm-hmm. At that point,
yes.
I still think it would have been Blake.
Okay. I mean, so would you have voted up Blake and tried to like say, all right, we'll give you Nankana, give us an Okina next?
I feel like that's what happened anyways. Because they all wanted to vote Blake. And actually this is what I wanted to say. I did not want to vote Blake that round. When we ended up voting him out, I fought for Blake and I was like, let's give him a chance. Like, cause everybody was like, he's going to turn on us. Like, we need to vote him out before he turns on us because we voted out James, he's pissed. I'm like, no, but he says he's not. He's going to stay pink strong. And I really wanted to give Blake the benefit of the doubt. Mm-hmm. But nobody else wanted to. So I was kind of outnumbered by that. So again, I had to vote out Blake to keep peace in the tribe and for my own game. But I did fight for you, Blake, I promise.
You win that first immunity challenge. Now, earlier Jeff had gone to the outpost. Had he disclosed to you he found a mutiny advantage there?
Yes, he actually did. And listening to all these interviews, I'm like, oh, he only told me, because everybody's like, I had no idea he had it. Yes, he told me, so I did know he had it. I did know he had it.
And so you probably knew Hannah maybe had one too?
No, actually, that didn't even dawn on me, because I didn't even think of that. Like, I just thought that he got the clue, because and she maybe got something else. At that point, I didn't even know. I didn't even realize there were two. I thought there was only one mutiny advantage, and she got something else. My brain doesn't think that deep.
So describe me what you see when you arrive at the next challenge.
That's the
this is when the mutiny is going to occur.
Okay, so yeah, that was a mess. So
first you see Jeff is gone.
Oh my God, that's right. Okay. Thank you for reminding me. I was pissed. And Kyle knows it, like, because I was pissed. And I could see on Jordan's face, she was pissed. And she like looks at me and she's like, and she mouths and she's like, Kyle. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I was so pissed off. I couldn't even look at him. And Kyle's looking at me. He's like, there's a reason. I did it for us. And I'm like, please, there's no us. Like, really? Like, I just fall off the turnip truck. Like, come on. Okay, you did it for us. You voted out like my biggest ally. Yeah, that sounds like you did it for us. You know, like, I've never been in us with Kyle. So, yeah, I was really pissed off at that. Jordan was pissed off. At that point, I didn't realize Jordan had the mutiny, because I turned to someone and I said, shit, I'm like, he got voted out with an advantage. I thought he got voted out with the mutiny. And I think because he had said he was going to give it to me if I needed it, but I had the numbers. So I'm like, shit, like I was thinking I would have went over there to help them. And then I realized Jordan had the mutiny. I'm like, oh my God, he gave it to Jordan. So I was all excited. And at first she wasn't going to play it. And then that whole thing with Melissa and Hannah, I don't know if I had known that Hannah had it. I don't think I did. But that whole thing with Melissa and Melissa talking Hannah into giving it to her, and Hannah thought Melissa was going to come over to us, and then she gives it to Tony. Yeah, that was just, that was a mess, and that pissed off Hannah. And that's when Jordan realized Tony mutinied. She was like, is it too late? Can I still mutiny? And Amos was like, yep, you can still mutiny. And then all was good in the world.
So you have a little bit of a shuffle. So you lose Tony and you get Jordan. And so now your tribe's looking a little lopsided. You have 5 pink Nankana and 3 original green Okina. How are you feeling about this post-mutiny tribe?
Oh, I'm feeling really good, obviously. 5 Nankana. Yeah, no, I feel really good. I'm like, if you have the numbers, which has been proven in this game, if you have the numbers, you're in a good spot. And I felt comfortable and I felt good with the people that I aligned with. And I was ecstatic that Jordan was on my tribe again. So, yeah, that was the crate one when they had a hold up. Yeah, me and Jordan sat out of that one. And there was a little bit of feistiness, I guess you would say, in that, because Shauna and who's Shauna with Hannah, I believe, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know for sure, but that sounds about right.
Yeah, Shauna and Hannah were together. And everybody was throwing weights in their crate. So when whoever was throwing the weights in Okina's crates, they were like putting the weights equally instead of like just focusing on one. And at that point, we didn't know that we couldn't help. So me and Jordan were like, no, put them in Melissa. Melissa was with whomever she was with.
Mhm.
I can't remember who her partner was. But they were going strong, so you could see that they needed more weight because Carl and whoever he was with, they were struggling, and were like, throw it in Melissa and whoever she was with. But then Blake yells at us and was like, I don't know, he was just disagreeing with us and he was yelling at us. So that's kind of also when like Blake was really showing that he was kind of like pissed off at us and stuff. So yeah, but then we got yelled at for helping them. So we couldn't help them anymore.
So this is going to begin a very long, like 18 hours of your life with 3 back-to-back tribal councils. And so you lose this challenge. And this is ultimately going to be a 7-0 Blake vote. And you kind of talked about like, hey, I didn't want Blake to go. And so if you didn't want Blake to go, who would you rather have seen go home this tribal council?
I think at that point, I think German. I think it was either German or Charlie. I think it was Charlie. I feel like Charlie came up like every vote. Every time I went to tribal, I feel like Charlie's name was thrown out there.
And
I think, but everybody wanted Blake out because he was kind of yelling at us and disagreeing with us. And he also was at the blindfold challenge as well. Like the one before that, he said he was going to throw it. So we lose. So we were like, why, which didn't make sense to me because I'm like, I was like, he was going to throw the challenge, but we ended up winning it. And I said to them, I says, why would he throw a challenge when he knows it could be him? It would most likely be him. Like, you're not going to throw the challenge and then, chance you being the one voted out. So that didn't make sense to me. But between that and the crate challenge with him being kind of, argumentative, I think that kind of sealed his fate.
I want to talk a little bit about Kiri because, Kiri's a player you talked about, like you didn't really have much strategy talk with her early on. Is that changing now that you're on a swap tribe with her?
Oh, yeah. Especially because we were non-Kana. When we had the numbers, we really bonded. I never felt like, I know she had said she felt like she was on the bottom of our 4. Were there 4 of us at that point?
Yeah, so it's you, Jordan, Shauna, and Kiri at this point.
Yeah, and that was when I really felt good about all 4 of them, like all 3 of them. Well, I'm the 4th. So I felt a strong alliance with all of them. I don't think she's completely wrong though in that. And I would say like a lot of the votes, like it really was a group decision. But for myself personally, I can't speak for Jordan and Shauna, but I probably did have a closer alliance, obviously, with Jordan and Shauna because I was working with them more closely, pre-swap. But when we were all on it together and it was Shauna, Jordan, Kiri, and I truly felt like we were just bonded. And I wouldn't have ranked anyone higher than the other at that particular time.
You have another one of your favorite things. You have that hot pursuit challenge night 4. You lose. And
did you see me wipe out? Was that on camera?
I haven't watched it in a long time, so I don't know. It could be.
Oh my God. I was determined to hang on, but obviously like my legs are like this big and everyone else's legs are like that big. And not to mention I'm like 25 years older than probably like the closest person to my age. And trying to keep up, and other people dropped off before me, and I was just trying to hang on just to give them like something else to hold on to. And they were just running a lot faster than my little legs could keep up. And I fell flat on my face. Oh. And I was, oh my God, face first, I face planted. And I can't remember who was videoing. I don't know. I'm like, tell me you didn't get that. And they're like, yeah, Facebook Live. I'm like, great.
It'll be there forever now. I'm sorry.
I know.
So this is night 4. You're going to have tribal council morning 5. ultimately this is going to be a Shauna vote out, but it's not going to be clear cut. So talk me through this vote, because this is probably one of the most pivotal. Kiri's going to flip. This is going to be a big moment for the season.
I was shocked. Yeah, I was shocked. I did not see it coming. Yeah, I mean, kudos to her. Like, quite honestly, like we were all, Jordan and I, like, we were shocked. But in the end, we were also like, wow, what a great move. You know, it was like you had to respect it. I did not see it coming at all. How did German play an idol?
So this round, German's going to play an vote cancel.
Oh, that's the burn one. He lit it
the
on
burn
fire.
event.
Yeah, that's right.
Did you know he had that?
Did I know? I feel like we did know he had that.
So I think he got that when he went to the outpost with Shauna earlier.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I think we did, but we honestly thought we had the votes with Kiri.
Mm-hmm.
So we were like, even if he canceled it out, when we re-vote, because he could only use it once, you could only burn a vote. So if you re-voted, I think I have this right. When we re-vote, he can't burn a vote. So we would have the votes to send him home.
Yeah. So was it always a clear-cut German vote for you, or was there other stuff going on this round?
No, it was always, I think it was, because I think at that point, we wanted to split up Hannah and German. Like, we knew they were close. And I also German's an awesome game player. Like, he knows how to play this game. I've seen him play it before. I've seen him get to final two. And I know, like, he's loyal he's loyal to Hannah. And I know when he has that ride or die, that's who he's loyal to, and he stays loyal to. And everyone else, like, he will burn you if he has to, you know, like, obviously, like, so he makes me very nervous to trust, unless, like, you know, maybe if he was on my tribe from the beginning and we had that initial alliance, I know I would be he'd be like a ride or die that I would want a true ride or die in, because I trust him in that way. But other than that, I mean, he's a villain through and through.
Were Charlie and Hannah talking with you much this round? Were they trying to push a different name in your direction?
So this was I think at that point, no, I think because we had the numbers, so I think it was like them and us. If I'm this is when I can't remember. Yeah, no, I think it was just like we thought it would be German, and we just didn't see it coming. It was like,
so Shauna will go out in a 3-2-1. Talk to me about the fallout and the repercussions of this tribal. Like, what are you feeling and what are you doing in response to this?
Well, we're thinking we're screwed, like Jordan and I, because now we know Kiri's working with them. We're just hoping to win immunity at that point. I literally thought, okay, the writing's on the wall. Like, they're just going to pick us off. And, you know, hey, it's part of the game. Like, we had the numbers. Kiri made an awesome move. Good for her. Like, it sucks, but it's respected. And yeah, I mean, we were just like, we knew, Jordan and I just knew the writing was on the wall. If we lost a challenge, one of us would be going home for sure.
And did you know, did you like, I think I'm going home, or I think Jordan's going home, or it's a coin flip and I don't want to play that chance?
It was, I felt it was a coin flip and I didn't want to take that chance. Like, Hannah was like, I'm never going to write. So the thing with Hannah and the way she plays the game, I feel like she'll tell people, like with Shauna, like she promised Shauna, she looks you directly into the eyes. Like she's when she talks, and she's always looking directly at you. So I'm like, is she doing this to like play me, or does she really? Is it sincere? Like, you never know, because that's how like deep in your eyes. She looks like,
Mm-hmm.
so she was like, oh no, I said I'd never write Shauna. So she wrote Jordan. She knew it was going to be Shauna. So it's like, yeah, she won't write your name down, but she's not going to do anything to save you.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I was always kind of careful and hesitant about Hannah as well. I'm like, yeah, no, she won't write my name down, but she's not going to do anything to save me either, you know? So I knew Hannah wasn't going to vote for me that round. And I knew it would, yeah. Did Jordan already play her shot in the dark? Is that why she didn't? Did she?
She just didn't play it.
Oh, she just didn't play it.
Yeah. So you
have. And here's the thing. So I knew. So that's right. Oh my God, she made me cry. She was like, she didn't play it, and she said to me, "You play," because I felt like I think she just. Oh, because I think that, yeah, it didn't matter. It was going to be her or I. And she's like, I would rather it be you that stays, she said. So play your shot in the dark. And I'm willing to like take that chance for you to stay in the game. Like, so she literally, I feel like she like literally fell on her sword for me, because she was like, I'm willing to take that risk. And, you know, hopefully you stay in this game and you win it, she said.
I mean, do you think there's a world where, you know, like you could have voted Jordan this round, right? Because it's going to be 2 votes you, 2 votes Jordan, and Jordan votes Charlie. You could have voted Jordan and been safe as well.
No, I would never do that. I wouldn't have done that to Jordan. I just couldn't have done that.
So was it very clear as you and Jordan there was nothing you can do, or was there like
Yeah, it was pretty clear it was Jordan and I. And when I went up to the bottom, I can still see the little scrolls, that I can remember. I went up and I almost voted like an idiot, because like from the time you stand up and walk to the voting booth, like my memory just goes blank. And I grabbed the pen and I start to write Charlie. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, no, what am I doing? Like, I'm not voting. And so I play my shot in the dark, and I opened up the little treasure chest, and I was going to pick this little scroll that was like on top, because I'm thinking, where would they put the safe thing? Like they could like put it on top, thinking people are going to go to the bottom, right? Because nobody wants to pick the top one. So they could do like reverse psychology and put it on top. I'm like, but then like one just kind of jumped out at me, that it was like, it was on the bottom and it had like 2 scrolls like this way. It was just like, I don't know. It just looked weird to me. I'm like, I'm going to take that one. And ended up being the right choice. So I was excited.
So you are one of 2. You played the most effective shot in the dark of the season, right? You are safe, and your 2 votes don't account for you. And Jordan goes home in a 2-1 vote. Your tribe wins the next immunity challenge. Is there anything else you want to talk about that final tribal challenge? We just swim out, collect the fish.
No, but I was proud of that one. I actually that wasn't there's 2 fish ones. I want to make sure I'm not messing it up.
Yeah, the swim out, untie the fish with the knots, I think.
Yeah, and they were like big fish, and you had to spell. Yeah, no, I was actually really proud of myself on that one, because I actually figured out the puzzle while we were bringing them back. Oh wait, no, I think that. What was it? The kayak one.
The kayak one, you had the range of 4x4 or 5x5 of the fish.
Wait, was it an actual fish? Oh no. Yeah, no, the swimming fish one. Yeah, that was this one. I was so proud of myself. Yeah, I did good on that one.
So I feel like you win. Okina's going to go to tribal council for some while. I feel like this is a really critical mode of your game, because from talking with everyone else, so at least Kiri, Hannah, and Charlie, you kind of come to them and say, hey, bygones be bygones. Like, let's keep working together. So talk me through how you play this after they nearly vote you out.
Okay, so once we merge?
No, you haven't merged yet. You've won the final immunity challenge. It's just you and your tribe, and you kind of say like, hey, what happened. Let's start fresh.
Well, I feel like we don't actually say that.
Okay.
Until merge, though. Because like,
So what happens when you're with this tribe that just voted you out?
Well, I think we were just so excited that we won and didn't have to go to tribal. And then we were kind of like trying to figure out, when merge was and all that. So it was still nobody pre-merge. Nobody stayed angry, like even with Carrie, she voted out Shauna, like she turned it was what it was. We still went back to camp and we all celebrated. We were still there, nobody was angry. Nobody was like, oh my God, I can't believe you did that. It's a game. And yeah, we were just celebrating that we won and didn't, especially me, because I know it would have been me next.
You think it was guaranteed there's no way out?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, if we had lost, it would have been me.
I mean, when you're getting down to 10 players, you're looking at these tribes, there's only 3 original non-Kana members left, you, Carl, and Kiri. How are you feeling about the game at this point?
Gosh, I didn't even think of that. God, I didn't even think of that. I didn't even notice that there was only three non-Kana. Really? There was only 3 of us, huh?
Yeah.
And then 2 at final. Huh.
It helps that you have 2 come back with redemption.
Right.
That makes it a little bit even. So instead of a 3v7, it's 5v7. But
right.
Because as you're getting to 10, as you're approaching merge, like, what is your game plan looking like? Are you just like, I have no allies left, where do I go?
Before merge, like, I don't know that Maddie went home at this point. So I'm just hoping for merge that it's not Maddie. I was, hoping something happened over there that, Kino went home. And, I'm talking with Hannah and Carrie. Yeah, we're all getting close. And at that point, we're kind of, Hannah's upset with Melissa. So we do know that there's like a lot of bad blood now between the Okina that is now on non-Kana, on pink.
Yeah.
So in that way, we're bonding pre-merge because we're like, Hannah's pissed off. German knows that nobody likes him over there. So that's when I think we start talking about if we do merge, Melissa, that group needs to go.
So let's start with the merge. So the merge kicks off with redemption with a male and female player coming back. At this point, you have Debbie, Joe, Melanie, Jeff, Blake, Shauna, and Maddie all at redemption. Which 2 coming back would have been best for your game?
Shauna for sure. Actually, the 2 that came back and Jeff. I would have really liked Jeff to come back.
Do you think it would have been better that Jeff came back over Maddie?
Yeah, probably at that point in time, because Jeff was in my original alliance with Jordan. And I feel like if Jeff came back, the game may have ended up a little differently, because I feel like if Jeff came back, maybe there would have been an Outlast alliance that everybody thought there was, because then there would have been 4 of, like, Hannah was tight with German and I was tight with Jeff.
And Jeff was saying he was going to work with Hannah.
And Jeff was going to work with Hannah. So I feel like there may have been a 4-person alliance right there. That would have brought us 4 together, and we may have done something differently that way. But that being said, I am happy that Maddie came back. I loved working with Maddie as well. And Shauna, it worked out perfectly. I was just happy that 2 pinks came back. And the 2 pinks that did come back were who they were.
So with those 2 players back in the game and you're at merge, where are you going? What do you want to do at this point?
So that, okay. So at that point, we all are talking Tony. Mostly because after merge, you kind of want to get out the people that a strong immunity challenge. They're strong at the immunity challenges. They can win immunity. But also there was, I don't know how, it wasn't, I don't know. People weren't very nice after the merge. Okay. So I feel like Tony nobody liked German from the green. I know, and supposedly, and I went back and watched a lot of the videos this weekend, like they didn't like German. Tony and Melissa didn't like German. So we kind of knew that Tony and Melissa were going to be the first two. And that we had come together, 3 Okina and 3 Pink. So it wasn't like Pink got together and was like, let's plow through Okina. Like, that's obviously not what happened. Like 3 Okina came together and 3 Pink came together. So we wanted to get out a strong player, and it just turned out that, I mean, we could have picked from any of them. We could have picked, voted Tony. We could have voted.
I guess I want to back up a bit and ask, why continue work with that non-Kano 2.0? Right? They nearly just voted you out. Why stick with them?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So because there was so much bad blood between the people left on 2.0, Pink 2.0, and the Okina, we all just kind of put our heads together. I tried to vote out German. German tried to vote out me. We missed. Okay. Like when one of the prior tribals, right? Pre-swap, pre-merge. We both took swings. We both missed. Carrie played an awesome, she turned on Shauna, which was an incredible move. And we all looked at each other and we said, you know what? We have common enemies. How powerful will we be if we come together, let bygones be bygones. We each took our swings and we missed, as far as German and I. We can do more damage together than we can apart. And that's pretty much, how we just kind of.
Because I feel like, I guess, 2 questions come from that. First, how comfortable were you in this group, right? Because here are 4 people who nearly tried to vote you unanimously. Were you confident saying, as this game progressed, I think I can work my way through this? Or are you thinking just at some point I'm going to need to do something to break this up myself?
Well, obviously, the first vote, you're always worried. Are they full of shit? Are they, you don't know. I did know they made it pretty clear they were not German fans. There was no way they were working with German.
Well, I'm talking about Hannah, Kiri, and Charlie, right?
Oh,
yeah. How confident were you navigating that group?
I wasn't comfortable with Kiri because of Carl. I knew how tight they were. And she just, you have to take a chance. Charlie is the one out of all of them that made me really nervous, because I do feel like he kept going back and forth, and so we were never sure where Charlie's vote was going to go. I was pretty confident in who I aligned with at that point. I was confident that everybody was going to stay strong. Charlie was the only one I was worried about. I just felt like we all kind of felt the same. We were all, that's why at first we were called the leftovers, because we were just kind of I don't know. We all felt like they were looking down upon us. And it was pretty obvious that's how we all felt. And so when you're all kind of have that in common, they think we're nothing, it kind of bonds you together. And so I was pretty confident with that group.
I feel like another aspect of this too is, if you look at that Okina 2.0, right? You've met Tony before. You met Carl, but you kind of flipped on your original tribe. And you had him pretty low in your totem, your ranking earlier on when we were talking about your original tribe. and then you're meeting Ethan, Melissa, Trinica kind of all for the first time too. So it's a lot of strangers to you at this point.
Right. And that makes it difficult because you do want to kind of meet everyone and kind of work with people. And I met Ethan and Trinica in the car the night before from the airport. And I know this has been mentioned. We all went to Applebee's for dinner. And that was really fun. Like, we couldn't talk game and didn't know each other's names and all that. But I'm telling you, that was probably the best night. It was so much fun. Like, oh my gosh. And I already knew, like, Ethan is like the nicest kid. Like, he's so respectful. He's so funny without even realizing he's funny. I would have loved to have worked with Ethan and Trinica. And had I thought I would have done something, had I thought it would have helped my game at all. But, you know, as much as they say, oh, they wouldn't work with us, they weren't going to turn on us, they weren't going to turn on their alliance either. It works both ways. They had their alliance, we had our alliance. There was talk with Ethan. I think Maddie talked to Ethan. It's one of the videos I watched this weekend. And, you know, he tried to talk Ethan into working with us. So, you know, we did try and get them, you know, maybe maneuver a little bit. And that may have changed it. That may have changed the Breakfast Club. That may have changed alliances a little bit. But none of the keynote was going to leave that little group either. So you had our tight group and you had their tight group.
It's going to be one of the what ifs for the ages. Carl's saying, no, we would have, but we'll just never know.
Right. And Carl can only speak for himself. You know,
and again, like, I think we talked pregame, and like, I apologize, we didn't have a chance, kind of in the rush of starting this podcast, we didn't say, but one of the things you kind of want to disclaim, like, everything you're saying here is your thoughts at this point in time.
Oh yeah, I didn't do that disclosure. That's right. Yes, disclosure. This is how I felt during the game.
So, you know, are original keynote members at this first vote coming to you and trying to pull you in to say, hey, vote someone else?
No, I know. Wait, was that? I'm trying to see when this.
So we're still at that opening Shauna vote where you have that overnight endurance challenge and that first.
Okay, the overnight right. So the overnight endurance, that's important. So when we go in the middle of the night to this overnight endurance, or whatever time they brought us out there, we all go out there, and that was when we were pretty much meeting each other, and we hadn't gotten to really talk to one another yet. And I think it was Melissa said to a group of us, she's like, I'm going to drop out immediately. I know I'm not going to win. I would rather go back to camp and get to know people, know one another, and probably look for an idol. But, you know, that's what she said. She was like, I think it's more important to get to know one another. So I said, I'm with you on that. I'm going to drop too. And Trinica also said the same thing. And I remember it was them too, Trinica and Melissa. And I know there was a few others, and I apologize, I can't remember who it was. So when they brought us to where we had to stand, we were behind the house. And it's funny because I could see inside the house because it was dark out and the lights were on in the house, and I could see like Blake and Danny dancing and stuff. So I kind of had entertainment at the same time. So I knew where I was, and I knew where Trinica and Melissa were, even though they were further away and it was so dark. So you had to wait like 10 minutes before the challenge even started. By the time the challenge started, I was already exhausted. So as soon as they said, starting now, Melissa dropped, Trinica dropped, I dropped. And a bunch of people dropped, because by the time I got to where the group were, we were like probably like 8 of us. No, it couldn't have been 8 of us. I don't know, 5 people maybe. And they brought us all back to camp. So there was a group of us that collectively decided to go back to camp and try and talk and get to know one another. Yeah, I mean, I think there was a lot of talk about, I wish I could remember what we talked about. I think there was, trying to start the fire and, looking for idols and, yeah, I don't even remember. I couldn't even tell you what we were talking about, but that was like a collective agreement between a group of people to drop out right away.
I want to talk about Shauna for a bit, because Shauna's a player you're close to. She's voted out. She's back in the game. What are your conversations with her at the merge like?
Oh, yeah. So we were tight. So we knew it was me, Shauna, and Maddie for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I had to talk her into trusting Kiri again, because she obviously got blindsided by Kiri.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, I was like, no, Kiri and German and Charlie, like, they're good. Like, we're going to be good. Like, we have this common enemy, for lack of a better word, the Okina tribe. Like, we're going to come together and stay strong, Pink 2.0. And she was hesitant. She was very hesitant. But then she talked to Kiri. And yeah, she was finally willing and able to come to and trust everyone.
Is there anything else about this merge vote you want to talk about?
One when Shauna, is that the one?
When Shauna's voted out as the first merge vote.
Yes. So that was horrible. So Shauna had safety without power. She came back with, and I knew she had safety without power. So she had debated on whether to use it because she knew it was going to be her name thrown down, like from the other tribe. The problem was, and her and I discussed it, and I was like, but if you have safety without power, there's no way we get the votes. Like, if you leave and we don't have your vote, we definitely don't vote Tony out. Like, we don't have enough.
Who were you not confident in voting with you?
Charlie. I still wasn't. Yeah, because like he was going back and forth so much. And a lot of times, like, I would catch him in something that didn't make sense, and I call people out. It's like, you're not making sense to me. Like, I'll call you out on it. And I'm like, why are you telling me this when it's not matching what you're doing? So I still wasn't confident in Charlie because I still don't feel Charlie at that point knew what side he was going to stay on. Yeah, so I wasn't confident in Charlie. So we were really nervous about that. And, Shauna was like, yeah, you're right. I'm not, she decided not to play it. And I felt so guilty afterwards because I felt like I talked her into it, and I've spoken with her since then. And I'm like, I'm sorry. I feel that was my fault. And she's like, no, she's like, if I wanted to play it, I would have played it. You're not gonna, which is true, So she's like, no, I made the decision. But then she left me her coat, and she left the safety without power in the coat.
Okay.
And she told me that. She's like, here's my coat, and the advantage is in the coat. So I'm like, great. So she also left 3 fire tokens. And there was also in one of the pockets this brown cloth, and it was full of like crap. It was like full of like a string, and it had like pebbles and little like to make an immunity necklace. In other words, that's what it looked like, or an immunity. So I'm like, oh, that's weird. So, and it wasn't in like a burlap like everything else was. So I'm like, all right, she's left me a few presents. So I think like 2 tribals went by, and finally like production came to me, and they said, you can't have that advantage, like, because she didn't give it to you, and I'm before the vote or whatever. And I'm like, oh, bummer. I'm like, thank God I didn't use it. I would have felt like an asshole.
Yeah.
But the tokens I was able to keep, and then the little thing I just planted it and then pretend to find it. So like people thought I had something. But that ended up come to find out after the game, like production, that didn't even come from production. They didn't even know it was in Sean. Like, I think Shauna just did that at Redemption, and it was like not even anything. It was just like junk. Yeah. So, the other thing is I wanted to mention, this is kind of backtracking, but I forgot about this part. Pre-merge on that mutiny thing when before the crate challenge, when I gave Maddie the scroll, I had, because Maddie came running up to me then, and he was like, you know, he kept saying, do you have anything? I'm in trouble. This was before his vote out. He's like, I'm in trouble. I'm in trouble. I'm like, I wish I had something I would have given him. If I had an idol, I would have given it to him. The only thing I had was the clue from the outpost. But nobody knew that. Like, nobody knew what it was from. So I purposely made sure that Melissa and other people from Okina saw me hand him that. And I said, this is nothing. I'm like, but make them think it's something. So that was that whole story about the, you know.
It caused some chaos.
I did cause chaos. I know it may have, like, yeah, well, he ended up coming back and winning, but like, yeah, so it definitely caused chaos. So I was happy about that, but it didn't help him any. Yeah, I forgot about that part.
Yeah. So like, Shauna not playing her Safety Without Power is a bit of a blessing in disguise, because it sounds like you might have been the alternate had she stepped out.
Yeah, it looks that way.
So it does work out in the grand scheme of things for you. But like, just kind of what if with me here, you know, what if let's say Shauna doesn't go out, but someone else from your alliance does, do you think that changes the trajectory of the game for you? If Shauna sticks around and someone else from your 6 goes?
And it's not me?
And it's not you or Shauna?
No, I don't think so. Because we had, I mean, I think there were 7 of us at that point,
yeah,
right?
there were 7 of you at that point.
Yeah, I mean, it would have sucked, but I think we still have the numbers at that point.
So so after this, Ethan wins the next immunity, the push me, pull you, hold the bars right there. Yeah. And it's going to be a tense, tight vote between Carl and German. Talk me through this vote. How does it end up on Carl?
That's all Carrie. So sorry, Carl. I know that kills Carl to hear that. So yeah, I think that's when Carrie realized that, like, it was kind of like the same as James and Blake. Like, you knew they were a duo, and duos never, when you're that close with someone and tight and working that closely, it definitely puts a target on you because people want to split you up. I think Carrie felt like Carl was kind of affecting the way she plays the game, and people were perceiving her as kind of like Carl's little sidekick, and that she wasn't making decisions on her own. She was just like, Carl was telling her what to do. Not that he was, I don't know that, but I think Carrie felt like that's how people were perceiving her
in the moment.
So she wanted to break free of that and play her own game. And I think, so she actually came to everyone and was like, you know, I'm willing to vote out Carl. Like, because we were, you know, trying to figure out who to vote out at that point.
Was this the ideal vote for you? Because there's, again, 4 non-con people left in the game from your original tribe. Carl is one of them.
When Carl voted out Jeff, he's dead to me.
Okay.
Who said that? Someone, Hannah? Dead to me. Yeah. Yeah, no, I was never working with Carl. And okay. He was never working with me. So I think it was mutual. Like, we just never strategized together. And so no, it did not bother me at all. I didn't trust Carl at all. So there's no way I would have ever worked with him. And I was fine with Carl going. He was great at challenges. So that was fine with me.
Was there someone else was there anyone else you were willing to vote instead at that point?
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. I would have voted Tony or Melissa in a heartbeat. Okay. Yeah. It would have. I would have been happy with any of them.
So did you know that German was going to get votes this round?
Oh yeah, they did. They made it pretty clear that they wanted German out.
Were you tempted at all? Because you kind of said like, German's a good player, and I've seen him work his magic. And
no, because I fully trusted at that point our group.
Mm-hmm.
I fully trusted them, and I really felt like we were all working together. Common enemy, like it just brings people together.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, no, I did not even think about voting German at that point.
So Carl goes out in a 6-5 vote. And I feel like from here on out that you have this group of 6, what will be known as the Breakfast Club, really is kind of solidified at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an interesting group, right? You have 3 original Okina, 3 original non-Kana, 3 men, 3 women. All right, you have a lot of there's a lot of like equal balance in it. In your opinion, what made this alliance work? And was it just you had good enemies?
We had mutual enemies. That's really what it was. And it was hard because, and I want to put this out there because it's how I felt during the game. And I know like other players felt that we didn't talk to them and we were, ostracized them. And I would never want to ostracize anybody. And I went back and I looked at videos and I'm like, I know I spoke to these people and there's videos and I did. And I tried to strategize and this video of me trying to strategize and, just getting like, yep. Okay. Yep. Like, so the argument could be nobody wanted to strategize with us either. Like I feel like it was like, it was, we felt like they were ostracizing, for lack of a better word, us, and they felt we were ostracizing them, so it was like it's funny because that's the name of that thing, push me, pull you. I feel like we all kind of felt the same thing about the other, I felt like none of Original Green, like, would talk to us, like even like, in between challenges, like they would go off by themselves. So it's like, how can we, if we have the numbers, this is how I play. If I'm in the majority alliance, I'm not going to come to you and say, I'll work with you. What do you got for me? Like, if I'm in the minority, I'm going to go to someone on the majority and like kind of give them a pitch, it was pretty obvious nobody wanted to work with us. They weren't going to flip on their alliance, even though they were in the minority. And, they play loyal. I was kind of shut, I was kind of ostracized because I play loyal, like, oh, they didn't like that. I'm not a good player because I play loyal and I don't make big moves. Okay. But the people that were lying to you and telling you, oh, yeah, you got a chance. Yeah, we'll do that. And then they lie to you and they go an opposite way. That pissed them off. But here I am. I just came right out and said, I'm not flipping on my alliance. Like, I'm sorry. Like, doesn't mean I don't like you. Doesn't mean, I wouldn't have had things been different, but I'm not flipping. And I just feel like that's how I like to play. It doesn't make it. I mean, maybe some people would rather be lied to and led on and give false hope. And then, like, I don't know, maybe people enjoy that better. But I would rather know if, like, and quite honestly, if you gave a good, because at one point I was thinking about working with Trinica and Nathan. They were very, they fought the hardest and they really like were social, and I loved having them at camp. I loved talking with them. And which is why they stuck around the longest. They were just more enjoyable, if I'm being blunt, but and had a couple breakfast clubs come to me and like, you know, if Maddie decided, oh, I'm going to work with Ethan and someone else, I probably would have done it at that point if Maddie did it, because he was at that point, he was my person I was going to the end with, you know, so it could have flipped, but nobody tried hard enough.
Yeah, so let's talk a little about that Ethan Trinica block. So at the final 8, it's just Ethan Trinica. If you made a move, who would have been against?
Oh, German, 100%.
you were still waiting. You were waiting for the chance.
Well, I was waiting for the chance, but you know, and it's funny because like at final 6, it was Hannah, and I think it was either me or Carrie that threw out her name first. It might have been even together. Like we both kind of agreed Hannah would go first. And I feel like that was because she was so close with German, and we felt, all right, well, nobody on the jury likes German, so let's get rid of Hannah, because they say that they don't like Hannah either, but everybody likes Hannah.
Yeah, and so like I think going back to kind of day 6 after the Carl vote, and like kind of what caused the divide between these two alliances, it feels like part of it is it becomes the emotional tension really rises in the game as well, and that really helps drive it apart.
Yeah, it wasn't fun. It got to the point where like, yeah, it wasn't fun anymore. Like I didn't even want to be at camp. Like I think Hannah said the toxicity, which is like a perfect word. It was super toxic. It just wasn't fun. It was very segregated. Yeah, I mean, it just, it wasn't fun. It was clear they didn't like us. They didn't want to talk to us. But, you know, and, you know, I think, I mean, in that point in the game, I couldn't wait for final 6 because I just wanted them all out.
So Tony and Melissa, the next 2 players voted out on day 6. Is there anything about those 2 votes you want to bring up?
No, it was pretty cut and dry at that point when it went Tony, Melissa. No, I mean, I think we were all in agreement on that. Like there was Ethan and Trinica weren't even a thought at that point. Like we knew how the votes were going to go in what order. And we knew Ethan and Trinica were just fun to be around. So, and very sociable. So yeah, it was pretty cut and dry.
Let's talk a lot more about the Breakfast Club Alliance, right? I want to focus on Maddie, right? Because he's a person you work with early game. He's on a different swap tribe. He comes back into the game. You know, you end up in the 6 with him. How does he become your ride or die, from what it sounds like?
Well, mostly because, in the beginning, because we were both had the Shauna. I feel like we were both tied to Shauna really closely. Like after the merge. So we kind of had that 3 together. He was original pink. I think Carrie was the other original pink. And at that point, just like he was, I don't know. I don't know how it just came about, but I knew at that point, he was the one I wanted to work with the most. Because I knew Carrie, I didn't completely trust because I know she's going to make huge moves. I knew Hannah and German were tight. And Charlie, I didn't know who he was tight with because sometimes I knew he was loyal to German though. So I knew he wasn't loyal to me. So Maddie was the only person that I truly felt comfortable with and that I fully trusted. You can't not trust Maddie. I never not believed anything he said.
And so at what point did you I guess, was there a point you two came there and said, yes, we're going to end with each other, let's make it happen?
No, it was just kind of assumed. And it's funny because he was so nervous about me, I think, because I screwed up the votes. So, like, even with the Ethan vote, I think, yeah, the Ethan vote, I was supposed to vote Trinica, and I voted Ethan. Yeah, because we were supposed to split it. And I accidentally voted Ethan because I did that with the Carl vote too, I think. No, the James vote, I was supposed to vote Blake. But again, from the time I stand up and walk to the voting booth, I forget. And I accidentally wrote Ethan's name down. And I think that kind of, it made Maddie nervous. He thought I did it intentionally. So he thought I lied to him.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know this about your votes.
Yeah, we were supposed to split Ethan and Trinica in case one of them played a shot in case Trinica played a shot in the dark and hit, which is why we were splitting the votes or something like that. I can't even remember. And that was the same thing with James and Blake. I was supposed to vote Blake, and I vote James.
One thing you kind of were talking about is like the dynamic of this 6-person alliance, and the way you describe it, it's like German's kind of in the center of it, right? He has close connections with Carrie, with Hannah, with Charlie, and then there's kind of you and Maddie there. And like, so is there more to the dynamics of this alliance you want to break down for me?
I had no idea that Carrie and German knew each other, like outside of the game. I had no clue. And I don't know how I didn't put 2 and 2 together, because I knew Carrie played Survivor Canada, I think she mentioned. And I knew German played Survivor Canada, like, because I'm friends with him on Facebook. And he had said he was going to Canada or something, like way back when. And it didn't even like register to me that was the game he played. It's tough to get old. I'm telling you, you can't remember shit.
I mean, so you're gonna laugh. So I played a game this summer, and I found myself to be the oldest person in the game. I'm just like this is weird,
right? Tell me, you're probably not all that much older. I mean,
I'm 32. I'm 32 now, and so I know, right? And like, I'm the oldest person in the game, and people are like, I'm like, hey, with like some people I'm working with, they're cracking old jokes at me all night long. I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah, like when I named the Breakfast Club, I'm like, has anybody seen the movie? You know, like, guess who came up with the name? That would be me, because nobody
Sandra,
else.
I'm putting this on you. You need to have a movie night for that alliance. Force them to watch it. You have to do this for the world.
Yeah, for real. That's a good idea, actually. Yeah, so I didn't even know German and Carrie were that close. So I didn't find that out until after the game. At that point, I feel like I was pretty confident, though, because I also feel like I had a lot of alliances. I was kind of like, I have this written down actually, so I didn't forget. Let me get my notes.
Professor Sandra is here to give us a course on the Breakfast Club alliance structure.
Yeah. Okay. So, and here's the thing: you can never trust it, because obviously they're telling people, and I always know this. Like, I'm not the only person they're telling this to. So, and I'm aware of that. So, like German and Hannah, that was the other thing. Maddie didn't completely 100% trust me, I don't think, because Melissa kept putting in Maddie's ear that there was an Outlast alliance with Hannah and German and I. And there never was. And the 3 of us kept trying to say, Maddie, like, we tried to vote each other out, like, especially German and I. Like, we literally wrote each other's names down in this game. Like, there's no Outlast alliance. But had the 6, like German and Hannah, I'm like, all right, till the end, the 3 of us. Yes. I had a thing with Maddie and German. I had a thing with Maddie and Charlie. I had a thing with Maddie and Carrie. I mean, Maddie was involved in every single one except for the Hannah German, which was never really real to me. And I know I was never part of their real 3 either. So Maddie was always a part of that. But I think it also made Maddie nervous that he kept hearing, oh, there's an Outlast alliance. And then I screw up the Ethan vote. So, and at that point, I was really close with Carrie as well. Like at that point in the game, me and Carrie got really tight. And we talked a lot. And I really wanted, at that six, Maddie, Carrie, and I had a final three as well. And I felt that was my true final three.
Really, Maddie, Carrie, and you're like, this is the one.
That is the one. And it wasn't even because of we're original. It had nothing to do with like that we were original non-Kana. Like that had nothing to do with it. It was just that I really bonded with Carrie at that point. We were talking strategy a lot. She was kicking ass. I loved her game. And she's like, I really want to go up against you because we played two really different games. She's like, I made big moves. You were more loyal and played a more social game. She's like, I think that we'd have really different final tribals speeches. And I believed her. And I truly believe that she meant it. And I did mean it too. It was definitely Carrie and Maddie at that point. But I also had a final with Maddie and Charlie as well.
So you were working to set yourself up for what happens when you hit that six.
Yes, exactly. I felt like I was pretty good.
Yeah. So day 7, Ethan and Trinica are the first 2 vote outs. Is there anything about those 2 votes you want to talk about?
No. It was heartbreaking with those 2 because Ethan was very down. He felt helpless. I think he gave up. He just he knew because the numbers and whatnot, and there was nothing he could do. And I felt bad for Trinica as well. She fought hard. Like she really, out of all of the original green, Trinica fought the hardest. Like she truly was like, I'll do this, I'll do that. Like she really tried to find, any sort of,
crack.
Thank you. I couldn't think of the word. Any sort of crack. Like she really gave it her all. So yeah, I did. I felt bad for them too, but not that bad. But
I think the only thing about Trinica's vote, from talking with Kiri, there may have been a plot against you at this point that you were able to dissuade Maddie from going down that road.
What do you say that?
So I remember when I talked with Kiri, she was talking with Trinica and pitching your name. And Maddie,
that's right.
Yeah, Maddie would need to be a key component, and because he was worried about you, kind of like what you said, but he apparently goes to you and you make it so he's like, no, I'm going with Sandra now. I'm not doing it.
Yes, that's right. That was because of the Ethan vote, because I had screwed up. So he was so worried that that I was not loyal, going to be loyal to him. That's right. Yeah, and I didn't even know about that until I heard Kiri's interview.
So final 6, we've made it. It's just the 6 of you. The question is, who set up their end game better at this point, right?
Correct.
Kiri, I guess one thing we didn't talk about, I guess we'll talk about now, is let's talk about Kiri's idol and the journey it had, right? So Kiri gets the clue at the feast. She.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
Find the idol, but German gets it first. What's your thought on that?
Okay, so it's funny. I didn't even know Kiri found that clue, at the merge feast. I'm late to the party all the time. Because it's funny, because we were all at the merge feast, and it was towards the end of the feast, and the French fries were put. The basket of French fries was between Tony and I. So Tony was directly across from me. And he pulls it towards him, and I literally grab it, the whole basket, and I put it in front of me. But at this point, it's already found, which we don't know this. And he's like, I want some French fries. And we were literally back and forth. And I'm like, I know why you want the French fries. I'm like, but I want the French fries. And we were literally fighting over the basket of fries. And then Pete comes and grabs the basket, and come to find out Kiri had already found that clue. So yeah, I had missed the whole thing with German still in the idol, like from up top. She was really upset about that. And that's what I mean about German. Gotta be careful with him. I knew Carrie was going to play the idol on German. She actually told me before we went to that tribal. And she said, she's like, I'm just going to play it on German. He gave it back to me. It's going to mean nothing. And I didn't even, I'm like, yeah, whatever. We were going to vote out. Was that Hannah's?
Hannah.
Yeah, we were going to vote out Hannah anyways. And she's like, it's just going to be like a throwaway idol, because she knew that we weren't voting for German anyway. So she's like, I just want it to seem like he's going to think it's good faith, but I'm just going to kind of waste it.
Yeah. So talking about this round, why Hannah? Why her first?
It was mostly because she was tight with German. And we felt that the jury, if German made it to the end, that the jury literally, like it was so hard. They hated all of us. So it really, at this point, didn't really matter. And they were very vocal at how much they hated us. Like it was like, again, toxic, uncomfortable. Like people get pissed off, but this was like uncomfortable. And we were like, well, we should probably keep German around because they dislike German a little bit more than they dislike Hannah, so as far as jury management goes. So we thought Hannah was probably the best person to get out between the two. But it was always going to be between Hannah and German, although I see two people voted for Maddie. So
yeah, so German and Hannah vote for Maddie. Everyone, the rest of you vote for Hannah. Did you know they were targeting Maddie? Was that the name being thrown out to you?
Oh, yeah. Actually, now that you say that, now that I'm looking at it, yes, because they were trying to get, Hannah and German were trying to get me to vote for Maddie. And I wouldn't vote for Maddie. I don't remember who we said we were voting for. We must have given them we probably gave them Charlie. Did
you think there's a chance that Carrie would play her idol for Hannah?
No, I never even considered it. No. She told me she was going to play it for German because German gave it back to her, and that was nice of him. I think that's literally what she said. He gave it back to me, even though it was my idol to begin with. So just like,
Had Carrie not been playing the idol for German, would you have tried to vote him out here, or you're going to leave him in longer?
Would I what? My AC
would you have targeted German here had Carrie not told you I'm playing the idol for German?
No, it always would have been Hannah.
So Hannah goes out 4-2. It's the last day now. You have the water balancing challenge that no one wins.
The useless one. Yeah. I feel like had I understood the rules, I may have done that a little better.
And so now you're in the final 5. And so what final, you have a lot of final 3 configurations. Which final 3 configuration are you leaning towards right now still?
Definitely the Maddie Charlie at that point. That's when I turned on Carrie, was at final 5. I mean, because I really started, because I really wanted to go to the end. And when I told Carrie, yes, you and I, I truly meant that. Like, look, her, Maddie, and I, like, I really did want her sitting at the end. But then I literally stopped and I thought for a minute at one point, and I'm like, there is no friggin' way I would beat Carrie. I truly don't think any one of us would have beaten Carrie. Like, she would have won 100%. Like, I feel like everybody liked her. I don't think anyone, I think she was the only person that Original Green didn't hate. And she played an awesome game. She made big moves. yeah, she was likable. Her social game was good. And then I was like, well, even though I said I would want to sit next to her, I still want at least a chance. So at that point I'm like, yeah, no, she has to go. So yeah, I think I was the one that brought her name up.
I mean, so with Maddie and Charlie, what were you thinking like their final tribal pitches would be? Like, as you're evaluating like their jury threat level, what do you think they were going to say at the end?
Charlie, it was they were so mean to Charlie that I don't know how. It was so hard because looking back, I don't know how I don't think I really even thought how he would handle tribal council because I was like, they were so mean to him. I honestly thought they were kind of rude to all of us, but especially Charlie. So I was like, they're going to attack this poor kid. He's 18 years old, and they're just going to like eat him alive. So I didn't think Charlie's final tribal would go well. Which is why I was like, oh, he would be a good person to take to the end. I just think they were going to attack him. It was brought up like Tony, like when he got voted out, he made it perfectly clear, like, he was pissed at Charlie. He said some rude things to Charlie, said rude things to me and Carrie. So I knew like he's never going to have Tony's vote. So that I thought about. And Maddie, honestly, I underestimated Maddie, like as far as like final tribal goes. I didn't see the game Maddie was playing, so I definitely underestimated him. Because I just felt like every time we were voting, he would just like, how we voting, but I didn't see the intricate part of it, in his final tribal speech. He really killed it. So yeah, I just really underestimated him for sure.
So Kiri goes out in a 3-2 vote, and that just leaves you, German, and Maddie at the final four. And was really German just had the winner? He was out at this point.
No, German fought like hell. Like,
okay.
Oh my God, that I cried on that one too, I think. So he tried everything to get me to vote Maddie because he wanted to go to fire. Like there was no way for him to be like Charlie. There was no way was going to vote out Maddie. That was clear, and Maddie wasn't going to vote out Charlie or me. So it was clear them two were both voting out German. German said he was voting out Maddie. So when I tell you he fought like hell to me, I was crying. Like I was so upset because he was so upset. He even threw out an Outlast reference. He's like, do it for Justin, And I'm like, oh, you're killing me. Like he was killing me. It ripped my gut out. Like I felt it was horrible. And I said, I can't do it. I just can't go against Maddie. I couldn't do it. And he's like, just give me a chance. We'll have to make fire and we'll both have a chance at it. But at that point I knew Maddie was never going to make fire. And Maddie, I think, was a little worried I was going to vote him out. Cause you're always afraid, I think any normal person always has that doubt. But yeah, there was no way I was going to flip on Maddie. So that wasn't going to happen. Charlie was immune. So, but yeah, it tore my heart. It was just horrible.
So German ends up being the final juror. And so that leaves, how many people on jury? I should know this by heart by now. 9 people on jury.
How many? 8.
9 jurors.
9 jurors total.
And so you're going to another final tribal council. You've been through the ringer before. You did Survivor Angelica, right? So you have experience in it. What were you preparing for going into final tribal, or like what did you want to say?
Okay, so God, I've been dying to explain what happened. Because I know I choked. All right, I know I choked. So I'm putting that out there. So, but before final tribal, I just kept saying I pretty much played the same type of game as Angelica. I played loyal. I flipped when I had to, I mean, everybody has little side alliances that aren't really true. So to say I never lied or I never backstabbed, that's not true. I voted out James, Blake, and there were plenty of people that I, blindsided. And watching other people's interviews, they were like, oh yeah, I was loyal, I was loyal to my alliance. Okay, well, so wasn't I. So, that they should respect that, so, and honestly, I felt like personally, it was clear they hated me because they made that clear. But I was also thinking, but I didn't lie to anybody. Like I was straight up. I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm not flipping on my alliance. Had I, been on a tribe with you earlier, maybe things would have been different, but I'm not flipping on my alliance. So I honestly felt like maybe even though they were pretty clear how much they hated me, like maybe they would respect the fact that I didn't lie to them though. But apparently they enjoy that. So, so I actually didn't think I was in a bad spot because I'm like, but I also know they like big moves, but I feel like Manny, except for the German vote, Charlie did with Melanie, neither one of us had really huge moves in the game. So I feel like all three of us were kind of equal with that. So I was pretty much going to do my speech the same as I did with Angelica, just go like piece by piece and explain my moves. But then honestly, like I got there and I keep talking about how bitter the jury was, right? And Shauna mentions it when she got up. But I was a bitter final three. I was so pissed off and I was kind of disgusted with the jury, with the exception of a handful. Okay, because I don't want to say everyone, but there were quite a few people on the jury that I was disgusted. I was like, it's a game, people. Come on. Like you guys, people were taking it really personal. Thank you, Charlie. Yes. And it, like people took it so personally and were so mean about saying, statements, and they got personal. Like they called people names and they were degrading and demeaning. And I was so pissed off that I was like, I don't even want to say my tribal. I don't want to say my speech. So I pretty much was like, yeah, I voted out James. I stayed loyal, but I think we had 3 minutes. And I think I did it in a minute. Like I haven't even watched my final tribal speech because I'm embarrassed.
Yeah, I think from my notes in your opening speech, like, hey, like your demographic. Like I am in the demographic gets set up early, but here I am. I focus on strategic relationships. You talk about your early alliances, how your only wrong vote was Shauna, and you broaden your alliances and ultimately turned on Kiri. That was kind of my crib notes from your speech.
Yeah, not very much. I did not, and I could have said so much more, but I was really disgusted, and I just kind of wanted to like it to be over with, and I didn't want to look at the sourpusses anymore because not every single one, but there were a lot of jurors that like I'm like, I don't want to look at their faces anymore. And so I was just as bitter. Like that's my point. Like they were bitter, but I was just as bitter, and I didn't want to play anymore. And so I would have been, and I was just as happy if Charlie or Maddie won, so I was happy with no matter who won. I kind of gave up, and the fight I was exhausted mentally and physically, and I choked, and maybe that was their plan. Maybe that plan was, let's get in their heads. Well, that worked, they definitely got in my heads, in my head.
I mean,
I'm tired. Still
we
tired.
haven't really talked about the 8-day nature of the game, right? Because the games you played before are anywhere from how long is Surviving Maine? 5 days?
4 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think all the games you played before this point were 3 to 4 days.
Yeah, it hasn't
And
been.
here you are doing an 8-day game. Like, physically, how was the game for you? How are you feeling? Like you kind of mentioned, you're feeling kind of wrung out by day 8.
Oh my gosh, it was definitely the hardest thing I've ever done. And I do these games, people like, my friends and
It's my
whatnot.
vacation.
Yeah, honestly. I do these things to keep me young. I think I one of the taglines in one of the Surviving Mains is, people my age do Botox. I like to do live reality games. It's like, that's what keeps me young. Like, my friends think I'm crazy. They're like, what? My father, who's 93, he's like, oh my God, you're doing another one. Now I got to worry, and, I don't expect to do well, but I don't do bad. Like, so as long as I'm not first boot, I'm good. And, I make it, I do all right. So I have fun, and that's why I do them. And the 8-day game, I was so nervous. And the fact I made it 8 days, I'm like, especially after the lightning storm and whatnot, I'm like, if I can do this, I can do anything. And I think I don't know, one of the chats we were having just like the other day, I'm like, yeah, now I walk the dogs in the rain. I'm like, I don't care. Like, rain doesn't bother me anymore. My dogs don't like it, but like, I don't care anymore. I'm not even afraid of spiders anymore. I had a black widow on my pillow. Like, when I tell you I had arachnophobia, I would call my neighbor if I had a spider in my house, because I live by myself now. So I would literally have to call my neighbor if, like, the spider was too big for me to kill or whatever, if it was like a big one. Now I'm like, oh, it's a spider, and I just like swat it away. Like, oh, like, my arachnophobia is gone. Great. So,
do you want to play some What If?
Oh gosh, why not?
Yeah. So, I mean, you kind of talked about, like, let's start with Final Tribal Council. Looking back, are there things you wish you had said? Or
honestly, yes, but yes and no. Yes, of course, I wish I did a better speech, because I know, like, even Hannah, I've talked to her since, and she said, Maddie's speech is what did it. Like, and Carrie even said it, like, your speech, just Maddie's was better. And I knew that, but I also don't think I would have won regardless. So I don't think it would have mattered. So, and I'm okay with that. Like, I'm not kicking myself over this one. I feel like, whereas some games you're like, I should have done this. I'm not kicking myself. I'm proud for making it to the final 3, which is better than, 17 other players. So, and I'm 56, by the way. So, hey.
So let's go back in time a little bit more. Let's go back to the final 6, right? You've gotten here with the Breakfast Club. And what happens is Hannah, then Kiri, then German are voted out. What is the order that would have been best for your game? Like, or what I guess what would have been the final 3 that would have been best for your game? Well,
I was a part in all 3 of those votes. So I feel like those are the 3 that I wanted out. So I don't know if it would have changed.
I guess let me rephrase it. Knowing what you know now, who do you think you should have sat with, or who do you think you should have sat with at the
end? Maybe. Oh, see, I know I can't give things away that I know, because I do know some things that are secrets. Okay. But probably Hannah and Charlie. But that would have never happened, because I feel like that would have never been possible because of the other alliances within the alliance. But maybe Hannah and Charlie, I may have had. I'm just trying to figure out who this jury hated more. Like, I feel like they say German, but I feel like they would have voted German. They say that, but German was
And I feel like that would have been such a hard final three to get because you would need to have to either flip on Maddie or you need to have Kiri play the idol successfully for Hannah, and then you need to have German not just walk to the final three.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like, and I would have never flipped on Maddie, so that's like not. It's like a what if, but it would always be Maddie because, like, honestly, like I said to him, if I have to lose to anyone, I want it to be him.
And so let's go back in time even more. Looking at the merge as a whole, were there any other avenues you could have taken?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I think of that. Oh, sorry.
Your dog has opinions.
All over my arm. Yeah, I think about that. I'm like, especially watching the videos back this weekend and like seeing, because I honestly haven't even watched. This weekend was the first time I've actually watched like pretty much all of the videos. And like I said, I haven't watched.
I've never gone back and watched my season in any capacity.
Yeah, I don't like to watch it. I haven't watched Final Tribal. I don't want to watch it. But seeing Maddie talk to Ethan, and I was like, if Ethan had agreed to flip on his tribe, because again, their tribe wasn't flipping either. They're OG, the original green. But if Ethan was willing to make a move and work with Maddie and me, Ethan was tight with Trenica, because I would have loved to have worked with Ethan and Trenica, being like the airport ride and everything. So like I do, even though I didn't know them, I feel like at least we had like some sort of bond. So I feel like out of all of them, I would have worked with Ethan and Trenica. So, but the thing is, I know I would have never beaten Ethan and Trenica.
No, I think you probably put them out in 4th and 5th. I think that's probably that's probably the solution is you work with them, then drop them. Right.
Like it could have been a different route. But quite honestly, there was so much. It was so like it would have never been, because it was such a divide.
Let's go back even further then.
Okay.
In your second tribal council, your tribe votes out James pretty unanimously, right? And you have Blake in the swap, and Blake goes home the first opportunity to swap. Do you think things could have worked out better if somehow Blake goes home there and you were able to keep James safe going forward? Because you have a better relationship with him, it seems.
Yeah.
And maybe this is all for naught because James would go home where Blake went home anyways, right? Just the way things were, but...
Right. Yeah, I mean, I definitely, if Blake had gone home first, I mean, I would have stuck with James. But I wouldn't have and that's how you have to kind of maneuver your alliances, you know, like I can see that the whole tribe was against James. So even if Blake went home first, nobody was going to work with James. So I don't think it would have mattered. If that answers your question.
Yeah, no, I think that does. Any other major what ifs for this season?
What ifs? What if Shauna had stayed in the game? And Jordan. Like I really wish. Yeah, I don't know. I love when I can like stay like to the end with like my original people, because like Maddie and I weren't actually like tight until the final 7 probably. I mean, we were aligned, but like we weren't like, yes, we're going to the end, but we were always working together. But I feel like Jordan and Jeff were like my two, and if like they could have stayed in the game somehow. And Shauna was awesome to work with. Like, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I have some questions to throw at you then as we wrap up here. No. How was your post game? Let's start.
Oh, post game was fun. Again, I am 56 years old, so I can't.
You partied hard.
I do party hard, but that's the funny part is usually I can like stay up and, I mean, you know, my son lived with me until he got married. So yeah, I mean, he always had parties and I would always like stay up with them. So I can hang with the best of them. However,
eight days, no food, no sleep makes it a little harder.
Yes, I was exhausted. Right. Like everybody else got to sleep and stuff. I think actually Maddie too, like went to bed early. But I also had an early flight. Like I had to be out. I almost missed my flight actually because I couldn't, like the rides got messed up somehow. And we literally had to get, I think it was a rare, like Melanie, thank God for Melanie. Because if it wasn't for Melanie, like forcing Aurea to get up and like driving to the airport, like right then and there, when I got to my gate, they were boarding already. Like they were like, I'm like, if we had waited like 10 extra minutes, I would have missed my flight. And I would have been like stuck.
Oh, Melanie or Rear saving the day.
For real, for Reelfoot, that is. Yes, they really did. So because I had to get up early, I went to bed fairly early, but the after party was still, from when I was awake, it was great. They put on a great spread. I mean, the production is top notch. Everybody involved, down to Pete's wife, awesome. Like everyone, the best. It was one of the best experiences.
All right, so now I have some rapid fire questions for you.
All right, and I meant to even think about my answers, and I forgot.
Oh, it's more fun this way when you're on the spot.
I know.
Who surprised you the most in the game?
Carrie. Yeah. She started off very quiet, and I know she was sick and she came off that other game, but nobody knew that at the time. So in the beginning, I was like, I thought she was gonna go early, to be honest with you. And James was actually in the beginning wanted her out, because he kept saying she was sleeping all the time, but little did we know she was coming off of a game. So like when she kind of came out of her shell, which she was never in a shell, but at the time, that's what I thought. She really surprised me towards the end. Like I'm like, wow, this girl can play. And I didn't expect that in the beginning. So she surprised me. Like when I really sat down and thought about it, I'm like, I do not want to be at the end with this girl because she'll kick ass.
Who do you wish you had a chance to work with but didn't?
All right, hold on, let me look. Definitely Ethan. He's like one of my favorite people. The Australians, him and Maddie, like they're like a different breed. No offense to you, American men, but like honestly,
no offense
like,
taken.
they are a different breed. They're just so pleasant and so like everyone,
I take it you're gonna be flying to Australia to play some games, and then I see.
I'm definitely going to Australia. I don't know if I'll be playing games, but I'm definitely visiting Maddie at some point.
Let's say Reelfoot's gonna have a returning season. Who's one player from your season that's not yourself you'd like to see come back and have a second shot?
Jordan. That one I already thought of. Yes, that's 100% Jordan. I think her game was cut short. She is so strategic, great at challenges, strong. I loved playing with her. So yeah, I would love, she's great. I would love to see Jordan get a second chance.
What was your favorite challenge of the season?
None of them. I suck at challenges. I mean, I did surprise myself at a lot of them. I feel like the one with the holes that you have to like
the vertical table maze.
Yes. I didn't get the ball in the hole, but I think I got it the furthest. I almost did, and then it dropped. Not that that was my favorite, but I did enjoy the kayaking one, and I feel like I have never kayaked before, ever. And I was so stressed out about it because I really, after seeing James sink his boat, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to drown. I really thought I was going to drown. And I mean, I can swim too. I know how to swim, but it was just like the stress of not knowing what's living in the water. Like that water wasn't clean.
Yep.
And, you know, seeing that kayak sink and what we had to go through, I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to screw it up. And I can't wait to go kayaking again. And I had so much fun. And I actually was supposed to go to the closest platform. And I was doing so good. I went to the next one because I'm like, oh, I can do this, you know? So I was impressed with myself there. So I really enjoyed that one.
What's a favorite camp life moment that maybe we haven't talked about?
Why does my AC always come on when you ask a question? And then again.
Your favorite moment at camp?
Oh, when we made the video, the Full House theme to the Full House theme, that was so fun. I think Shauna that came up with the Full House song? I think it might have been her, and I apologize if it was someone else. But that was hysterical, and seeing Jeff like with the flint, like when we watched it back, that was like a bonding moment. And yeah, we all had a lot of fun doing that.
Should every Survivor season have the shot in the dark twist?
Yes. I think that's the second time I've done right in the shot in the dark. I'm not gonna lie.
Do you prefer to play like a hero or play like a villain?
Well,
I know you're wearing a hero buff, so maybe you're biased in the moment, but you kind of mentioned you've been trying to play both ways. You've had some experience doing it.
Yes. So it's funny because like Surviving Maine, they're actually like calling me mob boss, you know, like, so it's like I'm a total villain, and I'm watching the show back and I'm like, okay, I'm like, that's actually fun. Like that was fun, right? Like it's fun to play loyal, but you know, I'll give Melissa some props to that comment. Yeah, it's kind of boring. You're right. Like, you know, I mean, I wouldn't call us clowns for it, you know, and stuff like that. But she has a point there that, yeah, it does get kind of boring. So, but on the flip side, when I'm loyal, I get further in the game. So it's a double-edged sword. Like, yeah, it's fun playing the villain. But you don't get as far unless you play a hero, at least in my experiences. So I don't know. I would prefer to get further in the game, let's say that, than play a villain and get voted out before final, if that makes sense.
What's one piece of advice you give yourself before coming out the Reelfoot? If you can go back in time and tell yourself like one thing.
I have to tell myself, not everybody else.
just you. You can give yourself one piece of advice.
Don't give up. Don't give up, and remember not to take things personally. That would be my advice to myself. Just remember it's a game in the end, and we're all up there to have fun.
What's one piece of advice you give to other people who played Outlast or Angelica, like through the 4-day games, who are looking to play an 8-day game? What would you tell them?
Prepare. Like, prepare yourself. Like, and it's probably the same thing. Don't give up. Like, just don't give up. You can do it. You're not going to die. Like, you know, just remember, no one's died playing one of these games. Like, you may feel like you're going to die. I know, right? You may feel like you're going to die, but you're not. So don't give up on yourself and just prepare. Don't overindulge in food before you go because you're going to starve. So, but it's a serious, and learn how to make fire.
I still don't know how to.
Really?
Yeah, I've never.
I'm going away this weekend with my family, and the Airbnb has a fire pit, and I'm like, I'll bring my flint. I'm like, I need to practice my fire.
Yeah.
Crazy.
The
But
only time I got fire going in Reelfoot, I dumped the kerosene from my torch into it and used a match.
oh, that's probably why they don't give us the kerosene anymore.
Maybe.
They take it from us.
Yeah, no, I mean this is like night 6 and it had been raining and everything was wet and I'm like, I tried to do it for real. I was like, I'm just upset and mad and I want rice.
Oh my gosh. That's what's a good memory too, is watching Frank. Like, we had no fire because everything was so wet. And from the, like, he is badass. Like, he got fire in the rain, which is impressive. Like, I don't know how anybody can make fire in the rain, but he was able to do it. So shout out to Frank.
And final question, what's been your takeaway from this experience?
Takeaway. You know, like I said, I do these just to like prove to myself that I can do it. Like I'm proud of myself. I'm proud of everybody that played. I love the friendships that we make, even though it was toxic during the game. I feel like after the game, like, you know, you all have those group chats, and that's what I love about it. Like, I love, you know, meeting all these people that have the same, you know, the same passion for Survivor that I have, because none of my friends do. So it's great to meet like all these other, even if they're 25 years younger, you know, whatever. Like, you know, I guess that's my mentality is 25 years younger. There's nothing wrong with that. But yeah, like, I just love the community, and the Reelfoot is just, I was honored to be cast. You know, there's a lot of people want to play this 8-day game to test their skills, you know, ahead of the CBS, if CBS ever calls. And Amos, and I'll miss the production, so I'm not even going to name all of them because I know I'll forget someone and I'm going to feel bad. So all of production, yeah, it was an honor to meet them all. And I know like how much time and energy they put into it. It's just amazing.
Well, Sandra, I just want to say thank you so much. Is there anything else that you want to talk about that maybe we haven't a chance to get to yet?
Should I look at my 5-page notes? No.
Well, I hope we knocked the most of it out.
I know, I have highlights and everything. No, that I think we're good. I don't know. Yeah, 2.5 hours. I think we're good.
No, Sandra, just thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you digging into your game and telling your story. I had a lot of fun tonight. Thank you, everyone who came here and tuned in tonight. This is the second to the last interview. This is almost done. We have one more with German.
Who's left? German, right?
Yeah, German this Wednesday. Be there or be square, because that's the last piece of the Breakfast Club.
He's great. Yeah, no, I love German. I do. He's great. I don't like playing with him, but he's awesome. I can't wait for his interview. So that'll be great.
Well, again, thank you everyone for tuning in. Stay tuned this week for one last podcast to come, and have a great rest of your evening.
All right. Thanks, Steven.